Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of micro investing. You know that idea that you can start investing with just a few bucks? Well, we're going to unpack exactly what that means, how it all works, and whether or not it might be the right move for you. We've got a really interesting article here from The Penny Hoarder. It's called Micro Investing: How You Can Start Investing with as Little as $5.
Oh,
And it's
oh.
it's full of insights that we can't wait to share.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how micro investing is really kind of changing the whole investment landscape. There's this long-standing myth out there that you need, a ton of money to get started, but these platforms are really proving that that's just not true at all, and it's opening up opportunities for people who maybe felt shut out of the market before.
Totally. It's like, finally, investing for the rest of us,
Yeah.
right? But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's define what microinvesting actually is. What are we even talking about here?
Well, imagine if you could invest with just your spare change. That's kind of the core idea behind micro investing. These apps allow you to invest very small amounts of money regularly, often by rounding up your purchases or by setting up small recurring transfers. So basically, you're taking tiny bits of money that might otherwise just disappear, and you're putting them to work for you.
Just so it's like sneakily building wealth without even really noticing.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. Speaking of awesome, the article mentions that microinvesting apps are actually helping users save an average of $600 more per year. That's a pretty significant boost to anyone's savings. What do you think drives that increase?
That's a great question. I think it could be the ease of automation, the psychological aspect of invisible savings. Not really feeling those small amounts leaving your account. Maybe a combination of factors, but it's definitely a testament to the power of consistency, even when you're dealing with relatively small amounts of money. Of course, there's some clever technology behind all of this, too. You link your bank account to the app, set your risk tolerance, which basically means how comfortable you are with the ups and downs of the market. And then the app kind of does the rest. It invests your money in diversified portfolios, primarily ETFs, which we can get into a little bit later.
Got it. So it's kind of like having a tiny robot financial advisor
Yeah.
working for you behind the scenes. I like that. Now let's talk about some of the specific features that make micro-investing so appealing. One that always catches my eye is the whole roundup thing. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So with roundups, every time you make a purchase, the app rounds up the amount to the nearest dollar and invests the difference. So let's say you grab a coffee for $2.75. The app would round it up to $3 and invest that extra 25 cents.
Ah, so that's how those small amounts add up.
Hmm.
I can see how that would be pretty painless too. It's not like you're missing those few cents here and there. You mentioned this earlier, but how does this tie into behavioral finance?
Well, it plays on the idea of making saving effortless, which is incredibly powerful. By removing the psychological barrier of parting with larger sums of money, microinvesting really encourages those consistent savings habits that can lead to significant growth over time. And it's not just theory. Acorn's users are investing an average of $30 per month just from roundups. So clearly people are finding this feature to be really effective.
Wow, $30 a month just from spare change. That's pretty impressive. Now, what about recurring transfers? How do those work?
So recurring transfers are all about setting it and forgetting it. You choose a fixed amount, say $20 a week, and the app automatically transfers it to your investment account, just like clockwork.
Okay, I see. So it's like setting up a subscription, but for your future self.
Huh.
I like that analogy. It seems like a pretty effortless way to build consistent investing habits.
Exactly. And this consistent approach actually leads us to a really important strategy called dollar cost averaging. By investing regularly, you're essentially buying more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high, which helps to smooth out those inevitable market fluctuations.
This reminds me of buying groceries. Like sometimes those avocados are on sale, and sometimes they're ridiculously expensive. But if you buy them every week, you end up with a decent average price over time.
That's a great way to think about it. Now, beyond roundups and recurring transfers, there's a whole world of other features to explore within these apps. For example, we're seeing a growing trend towards sustainable or ESG-focused portfolios.
Yeah, that's something I've been hearing a lot about lately, investing in companies that align with your values. It's like
Yeah.
putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. And many apps even offer IRA accounts, which can be beneficial for retirement planning. Although, as with any financial product, it's important to compare the fees and features to make sure it aligns with your overall strategy.
Right, always good advice. It sounds like there are a lot of options within these apps. Now, I'm curious, would you say that micro-investing is a good fit for everyone?
Hmm. That's a question a lot of people have. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And there are definitely some pros and cons to consider. I think it's helpful to look at both sides of the coin before making a decision.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's start with the positives. What are some of the biggest benefits of micro investing?
Well, one of the most compelling aspects is the ease of use and the low barrier to entry. It really takes the intimidation factor out of investing and makes it accessible to pretty much anyone.
That's a huge plus. You don't need to be a Wall Street guru or have a ton of cash to get started. You can literally invest your spare change. And I imagine the fact that most of these apps invest in diversified portfolios, primarily through ETFs. That's a big draw too, especially for new investors.
Absolutely. ETFs are a great way to diversify your investments without having to pick individual stocks, which can be really overwhelming for beginners. By investing in an ETF, you're essentially buying a basket of different assets, which helps to spread risk and provides exposure to a wider range of companies or sectors.
I've always liked the basket of assets analogy that really simplifies things.
Hmm.
And it makes sense that diversification is so important, especially for those just starting out. It's like not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Are there any other benefits that come to mind?
Definitely. Many micro-investing apps are actually designed with education in mind. They offer built-in resources and tutorials to help you understand the fundamentals of investing, which can be incredibly valuable in the long run.
That's a really important point. It's not just about investing. It's about learning and growing your financial knowledge along the way.
Exactly. Now let's flip the script and talk about some potential downsides to micro-investing. While it's a fantastic way to get started, it's essential to be realistic about the potential returns. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And relying solely on micro-investing for something like retirement may not be the best strategy.
That's a good reality check. It's more about building positive habits and gaining confidence in the world of investing. Speaking of things to be aware of, we touched on fees earlier. Can those be a major consideration with microinvesting?
They can be. Some apps have monthly subscription fees, while others charge a percentage of your assets under management. So it's crucial to read the fine print, compare different options, and just make sure that the fee structure aligns with your investment goals.
Great point. It's easy to overlook those details, but they can definitely impact your returns over time.
So would you say that microinvesting is more of a short-term or a long-term strategy? That's an interesting question. I think it's best to view it as a stepping stone on your overall financial journey. It can be a great way to start building healthy habits, learning about investing, and dipping your toes into the market. However, as your financial goals evolve and you start accumulating more wealth, it's wise to consider other investment options that might offer greater potential for growth or align better with your long-term objectives.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like starting with the basics and then gradually expanding your knowledge and strategies as you go.
Exactly. It's all about continuous learning
Yeah.
and adapting to your changing financial needs.
Well said. Now, for our listeners who are eager to explore the world of microinvesting, are there any specific apps you'd recommend checking out?
I'm always a little hesitant to give specific recommendations without knowing someone's individual circumstances, their risk tolerance and their financial goals. But there are a few popular apps mentioned in that Penny Hoarder article that might be worth exploring. Those include SoFi Invest, Acorns, Stash, and Public. They each have their own unique features and cater to slightly different needs.
Sounds like a buffet of micro-investing apps. It's
Right.
great that there's so much variety out there.
It really is. It's about finding the app that feels right for your budget, and for your investment style.
I love that approach. Let's take a closer look at some of these specific apps and highlight what makes each of them stand out. SoFi Invest seems like a good option for those interested in fractional shares and ETFs, and I hear they even offer a free stock when you open and fund an account.
That's right. And they've got some nice automated investing tools that can be helpful for beginners.
Okay, so SoFi Invest is a contender. What about Acorns? What's their main selling point?
So Acorns is known for its seamless roundup feature and diversified portfolios. It's a great option for people who want to automate their savings and investing without having to think about it too much.
Got it. So Acorns is all about effortless investing. What about Stash? How does it differentiate itself?
So Stash gives you a bit more control over your investments with access to individual stocks and a wider range of ETFs. It also focuses on financial education and offers a lot of resources to help you learn about investing.
So Stash is for those who want to be a bit more hands-on with their investment. That's interesting. And finally, we have Public. What makes them unique?
Well, Public brings a social element to investing. You can follow other users' portfolios, discuss investment ideas within the app, and even invest in fractional shares of companies that you admire.
That's pretty cool. It's like a social network for investors. I can see how that would appeal to people who want to learn from others and share their investment journey.
Exactly. It adds a whole new dimension to the investing experience. But again, it's important to emphasize that the best app for you will depend on your individual needs, preferences, and financial goals. Do your research, compare the fees, and just make sure the app aligns with your overall financial strategy.
Solid advice as always. I think you've given us a fantastic overview of some popular micro-investing platforms.
Mhm.
Now, before we move on, I want to make sure that we've covered all the key takeaways from this first part of our deep dive. What would you say are the most important things for our listeners to remember about what micro-investing actually is?
Great question. I think the biggest takeaway is that micro investing is all about breaking down barriers and making investing accessible to everyone. It's about taking small, consistent steps, leveraging technology to automate your savings, and starting your investment journey without needing a large sum of money.
I love that. It's all about empowering people to take control of their financial futures, even if it's just a few dollars at a time.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about getting rich quickly. It's about building healthy financial habits, learning along the way, and gradually growing your wealth over time.
You know, it's really inspiring to see how micro-investing is changing the game and making investing less intimidating for so many people. I remember when I first started learning about investing, it felt like this exclusive club with all these complicated rules and jargon. Micro-investing is like a breath of fresh air. It's making it clear that anyone can participate.
Yeah, I agree. It's really about democratizing access to financial tools and knowledge that were previously out of reach for many. And it's not just about making investing accessible, it's also about promoting a mindset of financial awareness and empowerment.
Absolutely. It's like saying, hey, you don't need to be a millionaire to start building wealth. You can start small, learn as you go, and gradually grow your financial confidence.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your financial future, one small step at a time. Now, speaking of steps, we've talked a lot about the features and benefits of microinvesting, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What has stood out to you so far?
Honestly, the thing that keeps coming back to me is the power of consistency. It's incredible how those small, seemingly insignificant amounts, like those roundups we talked about, can add up to something significant over time. It's a great reminder that we don't always need these grand sweeping changes to make a difference. Sometimes it's about those tiny consistent actions that really move the needle.
I love that insight. It's so true. It's like the saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And in the case of microinvesting, it might be a single roundup or a small recurring transfer. Those little steps taken consistently can lead to some pretty remarkable results. It's about playing the long game and trusting the process.
Exactly. And I think that's where the beauty of these micro-investing apps really shines. They take the heavy lifting out of consistency. Once you set it up, it's all automated. You don't have to constantly remind yourself to invest or worry about timing the market perfectly. The app just does it for you, quietly working in the background.
It's almost like having a personal savings assistant, just diligently tucking away those small amounts and putting them to work for you. And that frees up your mental energy to focus on other aspects of your life while knowing that your finances are being taken care of.
That's a great way to put it. Now, I know we've highlighted a lot of positives so far, but it's important to acknowledge that micro-investing isn't a perfect solution. It's not a magic bullet that will solve all your financial problems overnight. And it does have its limitations. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Like any financial tool, it's essential to approach microinvesting with a balanced perspective. While it's a great starting point, it's not a replacement for a comprehensive financial plan.
Right. It's important to keep the bigger picture in mind. Things like setting clear financial goals, having an emergency fund, and exploring other investment options as your knowledge and assets grow. Those are all crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Exactly. Microinvesting can be a fantastic piece of that puzzle, but it's important to understand where it fits in and how it complements your broader financial strategy. It's not about putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
So true. It's about diversification, not just in terms of your investment portfolio, but also in terms of your overall financial approach. Now, for our listener who's been absorbing all this information and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, what's the one key message you want them to take away from this deep dive?
That's a great question. I think the most important takeaway is that microinvesting can be a really powerful tool for building a stronger financial future, but it's essential to approach it with realistic expectations and a clear understanding of its potential and limitations. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it can be a really empowering step towards greater financial well-being.
Beautifully said. It's about taking those small, consistent steps, learning as you go, and building a solid foundation for your financial future. And speaking of steps, for our listener who's feeling inspired and ready to take action, what's one small habit they could change today to free up even a few dollars to get started? What are some simple tweaks that could make a big difference over time?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. It really gets to the heart of mindful spending,
Yeah,
and making conscious choices with our money. It doesn't have to be anything drastic. Sometimes the smallest adjustments can have a ripple effect on our finances.
right. It could be something as simple as bringing your lunch to work a couple of times a week instead of eating out, getting back on those daily lattes, or finding a more affordable streaming service.
Exactly. It's about identifying those small, often unconscious spending habits and redirecting those funds towards something that aligns with your long-term goals. Even a few dollars a week, consistently invested over time, can make a surprising difference.
I love that. It's like turning those little leaks in your spending bucket into streams of savings that flow directly into your investment account. And who knows, those small steps could lead to giant leaps towards achieving your financial goals.
Absolutely. It's all about shifting your mindset, from instant gratification to delayed gratification, from spending thoughtlessly to investing intentionally.
Well said. It's about making choices that align with your values and your vision for the future. Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a thought to ponder. We've talked a lot about the practical side of microinvesting, the features, the benefits, the apps, but I think there's a deeper layer here too. It's about the psychological shift that happens when we start investing, even in small amounts. It's about taking ownership of our financial well-being and actively participating in our own growth. What are your thoughts on that?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about moving from a passive to an active role in our financial lives. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our financial destinies, no matter our starting point.
I love that. It's about reclaiming our financial agency and saying, I am in control of my money and I am building a future that I am excited about. It's so empowering to think about, right? Like we get to choose how we interact with our money and build a financial future that aligns with our values and aspirations.
Absolutely. And that's something I think often gets lost in the noise of financial advice. It's not just about numbers and strategies. It's about understanding your relationship with money and making choices that feel good and support the life you want to create.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up our deep dives into micro-investing today, what's the one final thought you want to leave our listeners with? What's that little nugget of wisdom they can carry with them as they continue their financial journey?
If microinvesting has sparked your interest, I encourage you to explore it further. Don't let analysis paralysis hold you back. Pick an app that resonates with you. Start small and experience it firsthand. You might be surprised by how empowering it feels to take those first steps and watch your investments grow.
That's such great advice. It's like anything else in life, right? The best way to learn is by doing. So to our listener, if you're feeling that little spark of motivation, don't hesitate. Jump in, explore those apps, and see how micro-investing can fit into your financial plan. And remember, we're all on this journey together. We're here to support you, cheer you on, and help you navigate the world of finance.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be sharing your own financial wisdom and inspiring others to take control of their finances.
What a beautiful thought. It's like paying it forward and creating a ripple effect of financial empowerment. Well, on that note, I think we've officially reached the end of our deep dive into micro-investing. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep investing in yourself.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you. Happy investing, everyone.